Hey, everybody, it's Carm Capriato. We are coming to you live from the Remarkable Results Radio podcast studio. Good to have you here. We're doing Aftermarket Weekly, episode 116, with Danielle Vila from Red Rock Repair in Las Vegas. I just want to thank you all for being here and hanging around as I am working from a little, behind structure here today, but I just want to make sure that we are all together and all my peeps are out there. So thank you all for being here. Um, so look, we have let me introduce Danielle to you. We did a great episode together. Danielle, let's bring Danielle up on the screen. Hey, there she is. Hey, Danielle. We did a great episode together. We recorded it in San Diego at the Elite Invitational. It was so much fun.
It was.
Do you know what we titled that thing? Yes, you do. Of course. Let's.
I'm totally drawing a blank. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, hairdresser turned shop owner. I remember that. And it was so much fun. Tracy was with us, in the hotel room that we had our studio at, and it was a great recording session. I thank you so much for that. That was great, and we learned an awful lot. One of the things that we learned is the intimacy that hairdressing is all about. One of the very, very few professions that you could actually touch someone.
Mm-hmm.
And how we kind of thought about the trust that we try to develop in our own industry,
Yes.
that ultimately happens in the hairdressing industry. So hairdresser turned shop owner, you got to listen to that episode 754 if you missed it by any chance. It was great. You have an infectious laugh. I love it. Thank you so much for being here. Look, let's see a picture of the shop of the outside of her shop. I did have a chance to do a little, mapping to see where your shop was, and you're kind of in an area, Danielle, where there's a lot of people that own shops right in. It's almost like it's a commerce center.
It is. Las Vegas, interestingly enough, commercial development, they, for some reason, want automotive repair shops to be confined to these complexes. So we're literally located in a small shopping center where we have 4 independent shops and 3 franchise shops, a lube shop, a quick lube shop, basically a tire store that does general repair, and then another general repair franchise. And all of these businesses have been here for, I guess, about 20 years now. I think this complex was developed about 20 years ago. And the neighborhood that we're in is called Summerlin, and it's I don't know if it still is, but as of 5+ years ago, it was considered the largest master plan community in the country.
Really?
Yes, and it was actually, Summerlin was originally, I don't know exactly what the history is, but it has a lot of relation to Howard Hughes when he came out here and he purchased up an enormous area of Las Vegas. It was the majority of basically Summerlin, kind of extending out to Red Rock Canyon, which is a big tourist attraction and national park out here. And where we are in this little complex, it's the only area in the entirety of Summerlin that's actually zoned for automotive repair. So we have this little niche here because when you literally pull out of our parking lot, it's neighborhoods behind us. Behind our parking lot is a private school. It's a Lutheran private high school that is, $20,000 a year to send your child to. And the demographic of the neighborhood and where we live, it's the highest earning demographic in Las Vegas.
Well, it
You
sure
know,
sounds like a great place to be as far as
yes,
the demographics are.
yes,
And if you're going to want to do automotive service, that's where you got to be in your complex,
yeah,
right?
it is.
Okay.
It is.
So I guess I want to get into this a little bit in a few minutes, but I sure do want to tell anyone that's out there on social media watching us live by any chance on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, my Facebook page. Check in with your city, give us a like. Maybe you've got a question or two for Danielle, because every single week we bring in a guest host, a shop owner, and we see a tour of their place. Can't wait to see what's going on at your place. Red Rock Repair in Las Vegas. We want to thank so much our sponsor Dorman, and we're getting ready to go to Dorman and have some fun there and do some videos and some podcasts in September. Can't wait to tell you about it. But first, let's get a great message from Dorman.
Dorman consistently is looking for improved solutions to help save time and money for those who are performing the repairs. Dorman's all-in-one loaded backing plate solution does just that. With zero assembly required, you can now stop disassembling multiple pieces to make backing plate and e-brake repairs. Dorman's loaded backing plates deliver a complete solution. This assembly replaced all the failure-prone components by combining parking brake shoes and hardware onto the backing plate. The pre-mounted parking brake shoes, springs, and clips for a bolt and go solution. Want to know more about Dorman? Well, visit dormanproducts.com/tour. Hey, would you like to learn more about Dorman's innovations? Visit dormanproducts.com/tour.
Thanks again, Dorman. And of course, we're coming to you live, as I said earlier, from the Dorman OE Fix studio. Hey, this coming Friday, everyone, maintenance intervals and industry standards. Great friend of mine, Jim Flushman, we were at a meeting together. He said, I want to talk about this in the meeting. And it was basically, about 20 key maintenance intervals and what he set for his customers as to, when the maintenance intervals need to be done. And it was a highly discussed topic. I sent it around the country to show it to a few people. And he says, man, we're working on this stuff right now. So not only will Jim be with us Friday, but Kim Auernheimer and Sean Gilfillan. And it's going to be a great episode. And I think something we're all going to be able to learn from this Friday at 2 p.m. So let's talk about that interesting complex that you have, Danielle, where you are, and any challenges that you faced getting in there. It looks like a beautiful place.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, our particular unit that we actually occupy two spaces. So we occupy what's considered Suite B and Suite C, so the center and then the far right of our building. They were originally designed to be two small 4-bay shops. Our particular unit and our building in the complex, we don't have drive-through bays. So we have 2 tandem bays per side. So we have a total of 8 tandem bays, but we only have doors on one side. So our technicians, they each work off of 2 lifts. However, they're locked in. So it definitely presents, like we talked about on our podcast earlier, some pretty unique challenges for scheduling. It definitely restricts the number of technicians that I can have working. This particular complex, everybody here, all of the tenants would argue that they overbuilt it. We don't have enough parking. When you consider the cadence of, especially now, how the whole repair process works when you bring in vehicles for diagnosis, the amount of time it takes for your service advisors to build estimates, to locate parts, all of that. The vehicles are here. We schedule a customer, no matter what it is, other than an oil change, expect to leave the vehicle with us overnight. We will have answers for you tomorrow. And that presents its own unique challenges. And we're constantly fighting for parking space, constantly fighting for customers bringing in their vehicle. Where do they leave it? The type of service and experience that I would like to offer our customer and our guests, we can't really offer here because we just don't have the space to do that. Having the ability for a customer to drop off right at the front door, we don't have the ability because there is no space in front of the front door. The customers definitely, they pay a premium for the convenience of being able to literally drive, 5 minutes.
And we lost Danielle.
Shops.
Danielle, your video froze there for a moment. And you were saying that the video pays a convenience for quickly dropping off the vehicle, and then we lost you.
The customers pay for the convenience of bringing their vehicle to us and only having to drive, maybe 5 minutes here, but they lose out on some of the luxuries that they would get at other shops that have a different location where they have more space, where they could possibly offer, car washes and, pickup service and, being able to drop the vehicle off right at the front and have the service advisor walk out and do the walk around and things.
And so you've obviously had to modify your business
Yes.
for, and I want to use the words in quotes, convenience.
Hmm.
And there's not a lot of convenience, what you're saying. So
Hmm.
you've had to adapt, and the customer in that town, in that marketplace, understand that all of you in that in that little
Hmm.
section are all challenged with space.
Yes. And we also had to start considering, for those that didn't hear our original podcast, we never had any experience in owning a shop. And so coming in, we had an absolute crash course in what are we supposed to do. And then when we hired our business coach and really started learning the ins and outs of running an automotive repair shop, and started learning what the customer experience should be, and then what can we offer our customers here in our location, and how do we set ourselves apart. Having a lot of women in my business, I mean, I have a female service advisor. We just hired a female porter who is going to be training to be a service advisor. That in and of itself creates a different dynamic. Our front office that you'll see in the video is creates a different experience for the customers when they walk in. And in a couple of podcasts, they've been talking about how women tend to make, what is it, 70 to 80% of the
Yep.
buying decisions in a
Yep.
household.
Yep.
When a woman walks into my business, it doesn't look like a shop. It doesn't look like a dealership. I have a beautiful desk. I designed the desk. It's comfortable when you come in here. We have a nice couch. We don't have waiters. We don't allow waiting appointments. But when you walk in, it doesn't feel like a dirty, smelly shop. It doesn't feel like something intimidating. And we've really had to figure out how can we create an experience for the customer that will set us apart from everybody else, and also build value into the experience for the customer.
It's a huge paradigm shift that you just mentioned, and that is, we have to have the kind of look, feel, smell, environment that makes it not look like a shop. And
Hmm.
even if people aren't waiting, and we've seen so many shop tours of late that have big leather furniture, an amenities bar with coffee, water, soda, even snacks, and nobody waits.
Yes.
But there's an investment in the image that
Hmm.
when you walk away, if I had to wait, this looks like a cool place to hang out.
Yeah. And, we require that vehicles are dropped off first thing in the morning. We need them here 8 o'clock, 8:15, 8:30. So if you're running in and you're dropping off on your way into work, we have coffee for you. We have snacks for you. If you didn't grab breakfast and you don't want to wait, Starbucks is across the street, but you don't want to wait in the drive-through. We have something here for you, for your kids, if your kids are in the car. Just those little things. And honestly, I mean, our delivery people, when they come in and they're rushing through, especially in Las Vegas in the summertime when it's 115 degrees, you know, the snacks are for them as well. And we make sure that they're aware of it. Please help yourself. Please take care of yourself. We depend on you. That also adds to the experience for people coming in our business. It's again kind of lending itself back to the hair world. You can find anybody to do your hair, but what do I do differently? What sets me apart? And it's me, but it's also the environment that I surround my customers in and my clients in. And I think consumers nowadays are a lot more savvy, and they have higher expectations than they used to. And especially because there are those consumers that prefer to go to a dealership. And when you walk into a dealership, it is a very different experience than what you get in most automotive repair independent shops, and franchise stores. And how do we set ourselves apart? How do we elevate ourselves, and how do we elevate the industry? And as everybody is talking about how the shortage of technicians and everybody else, and the kind of pay that these people actually deserve, how do we afford that as shop owners? And how do we get a customer and a client to understand why it costs so much, and the kind of work that goes into a technician building his tool chest, building his knowledge base, the kind of education that we have to invest in as shop owners, the tools that we have to invest in to supply our technicians with everything that they need to do the job. And we have to provide this kind of experience for them to justify that cost for the customer.
I love what you just said. I think you're a disciple of my friend Bill Dalu, who always talks about why much, why how much,
Yeah.
and I think it's almost coming to a point that, I guess when Ann and I went out a couple of Saturdays ago and had 2 chicken Caesar salads and 2 drinks.
Mm-hmm.
With the tip, it was $60.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, I live in Buffalo. It's not like living in Vegas or New York or LA where I would have probably paid $80 for the same
Right.
thing. But
Right.
it's that why much?
Yeah.
Why is it so much? And you
Mm-hmm.
start backing it down, and it's probably, the labor had to go up in order to have the chefs and everybody that's being paid
Mm-hmm.
for the services that we want. And I guess it's maybe the new normal, Danielle, and we're willing to listen to what is it, why is it this much? And as long as your people are equipped with some really smart answers,
Yeah.
which are
Yeah.
always truthful, honest, transparent, building
Exactly.
trust, and
Yes.
people are saying, okay, that's how much.
Yeah. And truly, and the conversation in training our new employee, the conversation that she's learning that we continue to have, that I especially have when I answer the phone and it's a new customer. I introduce myself. I'm one of the owners. I want you to understand when you walk in, this is the experience that you should expect. We're going to do this inspection. We do them digitally. We will send you a link to it. There's photographs so that you see why my technicians are making certain recommendations. We're trying to build transparency into the experience for you. And we're trying to help you understand why we make recommendations. It's not to get you to spend more money with us. It's because we truly are just looking after your best interest. And if this is a car you don't want to put money into, no problem. But we still have an obligation and responsibility to you to make you aware of what's going on. Um, and that carries over so much into so many different facets in the experience with the customer. I think when you showed the picture of our shop, we rebranded our business and changed the name completely. The month before COVID hit, actually, and which is normally the kiss of death. We still experienced 33% growth that year. We experienced another 32% growth last year. I'm on path to do it again this year. And the front of our business does not look that great. We have a banner that has our sign. Where our sign is actually getting made, and we're dealing with permits in the city. But in spite of all of these challenges, we've continued to have this kind of growth because we work so hard to build this experience and for the customer in while still having the highest labor rate in our complex, and having conversations about, is it time to raise our labor rate again based upon the needs of our business, and having
Sure.
to give our technicians raises. And
Well, no doubt you'll be the preferred place to get your car fixed and maybe outlast everyone there.
hopefully.
And because you're paying attention to your business, and you got a great coach in Darren Barney. So,
Yes.
hey, look at this was great. Thank you so much. I couldn't, I've never been in 110-degree heat until I was in Las Vegas last week. And when night times were 88 degrees, I mean, the highs in Buffalo, maybe 5 days in the year would get to 88. But, I was, of course, I was with Tracy, and she was saying, yeah, Dad, Matt and I went and walked the boulevard, and it was 88. Anyway, long story short, you're in a really hot place, and I guess
Yes.
I don't always mean by temperature. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see your shop. I want to talk about some of the latest listens that we've had going on here in the shop. What technicians really want is a great episode. It came out today, and it's all about a survey that Jimmy Aluria and Jason Stretch did, and they brought the results of the survey to that podcast. You have got to listen to it. It is phenomenal. I think it'll rock your socks. And I'm on a kind of a soapbox about a couple of things that came out of that. We also did identify your ideal customers. It was great. We had Marty Long, Brian Legos, and Joe Marconi, and Matt Fonslows was keyed up about the keys to key with Andrew Sexton. And Hunt Demers did a great episode this past week on inflation. So can't wait for you guys to get them. And, of course, listen to learn. Just one thing. Let's get out there and see the great tour of your business, Danielle. Of course, it's a virtual tour and it is pre-recorded, but she is going to narrate this great tour for us. Let me add that up, and here we go.
So obviously, our old name from the business that we purchased with the banner that we've hung about 2 years ago, I guess. When you look to the right, back behind on the back left corner is a lot that's got about 8 parking spaces. As I pan over to the right, those are the 3 independent shops, and over in the far corner is one of the franchises. There's the lube shop, and then there's the tire store that flank our business. There's my amazing service advisor, Trish Watts. She's absolutely incredible. She's
Anytime you want me to stop it so you can explain a few things, just let me know.
yeah.
That's a really I hate to say the word sexy front. Is that tile?
It is actually. I again, kind of going back to what the counters look like in a hair salon, and when a customer walks in, what are they greeted by? You want them to be greeted by something that sets the tone for whatever the customer experience is supposed to be. Whether I had a male or a female service advisor doesn't really matter, but I want them to understand that we pay attention to detail here. The expectation is that everybody pays attention to detail, and trying to create something that doesn't feel like an automotive repair shop. That if a woman walks in, she doesn't feel immediately uncomfortable. That it's something that she can kind of maybe subconsciously identify with, because it looks more like something that would be a piece of furniture in a home rather than in a shop. We've had conversations with Darren about how, and I don't know why we were talking about it, but service advisors and customers like having service advisors who stand at like a kiosk type setup, and it just doesn't feel personal to me. It feels very transactional. Whereas having my service advisor sit down where the customer is standing, or if they need to sit down, we can pull up a chair, but hopefully the transaction isn't that long. It's just more comfortable for them. They're able to have a very casual conversation with our advisor. If they choose to sit down on the couch while they're waiting to have a conversation with her, if she's on the phone, they can. Obviously, the snacks on the cabinet in the fridge. Walking down the hall, there's a couple of offices. My extremely messy office with the obnoxious painted walls. We moving into the space presented a lot of challenges for us. Bathroom, that was one thing I just immediately knew, like the bathroom has to be clean for anybody. And we keep it clean. As everybody's talked about, go ahead and pause it for me really quickly.
Sure.
There's been a lot of conversations about restrooms for customers, and I always find it kind of ironic. I don't know who would need to be told that. I don't know who hasn't gone into a disgusting bathroom and not been offended by it, whether it was in somebody's home or in a store. That should be a no-brainer to me. And if it's open to the public, or if it's for your employees, why is the restroom not clean? It's a basic human need, and it should be welcoming to everyone. It just is one of those very minor details that I think really sets the tone for people. Um, I don't know. I
Couldn't
don't.
agree more.
So walking out into our shop, we are in the process right now of getting bids. So when I walk out here, you'll see that's our Hawkeye Elite alignment machine, and then
Nice.
see, that's one of my technicians' workstations. We are very challenged space-wise in our shop. This to the right, the blue rack is the alignment rack. We're the only shop in the complex that has basically a rack that can do the really big, long vehicles. I have the only diesel technician in the complex. He's amazing. And so we get all the diesel work, and we have all these big, giant trucks that come in, and we're the only shop in the complex that can do the alignments on them.
I gotta stop the video and ask you a question. Are there any big box competitors in the area, or they really aren't because this is the only place they could be?
Big box competitors is in like the big franchise stores?
Yeah, franchise stores.
Yes, we have one of the tire stores. It's the tire store that, it masquerades as a tire store, but it's a repair shop
Yeah.
directly next door to us.
Okay.
And they have an alignment machine, but it's 20 years old and it doesn't really work very well. And, they've got kids who don't really know how to
But
do a little bit.
nowhere else in Rock Ridge, am I right?
You mean out in Summerlin?
Yeah, in Summerlin. Nowhere else in Summerlin
No, no, not that does any kind of repair.
that does. Okay, so you really are. I mean, and how many are in this complex? 3 or 4?
Four independent shops and 3 franchise. Yeah.
And 3 franchise right in that area.
Yes.
Is everyone busy?
Yes.
Okay.
Extremely. And a lot of that is, to be honest with you, the independent shops are far busier than the franchise shops. And I think that speaks volumes to what is happening in the industry, where people are understanding they're having bad experiences at the franchise stores because there's not a personal experience, right? They're every time they walk in, there's somebody different. And good techs, good employees, they might get their feet wet. They might start at the franchise stores, but they're coming and working for people like us in the independent places because they want to feel like they belong somewhere. They want to be a part of something.
Got it.
And I mean, the 4 independent shops, we're so busy. We're constantly we're referring work to each other. We're all booked out a minimum of a week in advance. It's pretty wild. I keep hearing this term unprecedented, and I'm like waiting for the shoe to drop, and
And
it just
it may in a little bit. In fact, I'd love to have a conversation with people in our industry about this whole
yeah.
recession, inflation thing, and I think it's something we have to pay attention to.
Absolutely. Just back here in the back is just where we store a lot of our bulk fluid, our machines when they're not in use. Again, we don't have a ton of room, and we don't typically keep a lot of fluids in stock. Anything, in mass quantity. There's my amazing technician, our lead technician, Logan. Mainly just because we don't have waiting appointments. We don't really have to. So we can order fluids and parts at once jobs are as needed.
So these are the other 4 bays.
Yes, correct.
Okay, because you said you had
So
2 units. Okay.
yes. So this is that wall. Basically, we cut open holes on both sides so that we pass throughs, but we wanted to maintain that wall so that the techs had some place to put their boxes and things like that. This side, we basically had to fully remodel when we took over. This was the space of the original shop that we purchased and took over. And so obviously 2 less per side. And that we'll walk into the parts room on the other side there. That's our break room and our parts room that we're at some point going to tear that out and hopefully move the alignment rack over there. And then where the alignment rack is, we'll add 2 more lifts and bring in another technician. Upstairs is just some spare storage that the old owner built and created, and we have needed it because, again, we don't really carry a lot of parts. So just another bathroom for the technicians. Again, well lit, clean, maintained for them. This is just obviously more tools. This little back cabinet area here is where we keep some storage for things, and our air compressor. There's lots of wheels and tires laying around from various projects of ours that we have swapped out.
I'm going to stop the film here for a minute and say it's amazing. And I don't know why it took 116 weeks for me to think this, but when you look at the tightness that you have in what you're doing there, and then you look at the equipment and the toolboxes and the diagnostic carts, I mean, there is so much room necessary just
Yes.
to do business, just for tools and equipment.
Yes, it's kind of astonishing, to be honest with you. And I remember when we took over the old business, the old shop manager who was there, he had 3 giant toolboxes, and I just remember looking and thinking, how do you find anything in these? And they were very well organized, but just the volume of tools that he had amassed over a career of 35 years was astonishing. And you have to provide space for your technicians to work in
Got
addition
it.
to the vehicles. This space in here that you're looking at is a break room that we created, just trying to create a space for the technicians so that they had some place to sit, kind of rest when the time came. Our shop is the only one that has the space for it, so we're the only ones that actually have a break room in our business. And then this is just all of our filters. We only stock cabin and air and oil filters.
Yeah.
And, just ancillary things, and then our fluids. So
What is your labor rate? Door rate?
for general repair is 150, for diesel is 190, and custom and classic is 200.
Custom and classic. Good to hear, by the way, as I've heard some other people down south have a higher rate for vintage, for
Yes.
older, because it's
Have
going to
to.
take so much more time to locate and
Yes.
find parts.
Yes.
And I was just kidding with some people from Florida about having a northern rate. And okay, who wants to work on that rust bucket for normal door rate, right?
It's funny. We have a customer with a Honda in here right now that just drove down from Canada, and the couple moved here, and we've got one vehicle in now, and then they're bringing the other one next week. And my tech who's working on it is from Michigan, and it's up on the rack, and he just kind of shook his head. He's like, "Man, I do not miss living in Michigan. Look at this thing, and I have never seen rust like that before." I was
Wow,
like,
yeah.
"Wow, we don't have that problem here in the desert."
Well, it sure do happen. Hey, thank you so much for coming on and to
Yes.
share some of your pain points regarding living in that tiny little segment where all the shops are. That's but you've been able to be very successful and come up and over it. How nice.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, it's so glad to have you. Good to have you. Very articulate. You got a passion for this business. You've got to come on some of our panels here in the future. Hey, look at this thing. This thing called a podcast. This shop tour comes out as its own podcast this Saturday. Look for it on your favorite podcast listening app. It's also right now. It'll be on the YouTube. So if anybody wants to go out there, check it out. And the next week, we're going to have Dan Buss on from DNR Auto Works in Highland Park, Illinois. That's up where they have snow, isn't it? That would be next week, August 2nd. Hey, please subscribe to us on Apple, on Spotify, on Google, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Love to have you do that. And thanks for everybody who's hanging out with us on social. And Keith Perkins, raise your rates in 2022. And if you haven't done so, shame on you. Thank you, Keith. We have to do it. There it is. So thanks again, Danielle. I sure appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much. It was nice to see you.
Same here.